Hello, welcome back to the Villa View. It's time for a match preview for Villa's trip to Fulham in association with BetMate. We'll come on to them a little bit later. I'm your host, Dan Bardell, joined by my good friend Ty Bracey to discuss Villa's game against Fulham. And I'm not even sure if anyone wants Aston Villa content at the moment, Ty, but we're here doing it. 3 points, I imagine.
You'd like to think so. I mean, something's got to change, Daniel. Something's got to change.
When I say 3 points, I meant 2 Fulham.
Look, I don't want to hear any of this slander, okay? I know things aren't going great at the moment, Dan, but regardless of circumstance, we're always looking for a Villa win. So tomorrow, we got to play. We got to create chances like we did against Chelsea. Or we're in serious trouble, man. We always do well against I hate to call them the big six, but the Champions League clubs upon the Premier League. We always play better. So, if we go back to how we play against Forest, mate, it's going to be a snooze fest.
Well, if that's the problem now Villa have got, if you're a Fulham, for example, who have had a good start to the Premier League, I actually like them as a team. I think they've signed some good players. I think they look really well coached, Fulham, and I like what they're doing so far this season. But if you just say to your team, sit back in a low block and Villa won't be able to break you down, I imagine that's what most teams of this ilk are going to do now, because if they open up, Villa showed the other day that they can create chances, albeit they still didn't get a result or put the ball in the back of the net, which are two massive things in football. But if you are one of the teams that isn't going to win every week, you would just sit back against Villa because you know you can invite them onto you and they're going to struggle to make things happen. The Chelsea game and the City game suited Villa because they could play on the break and be a little bit more direct. But that ain't going to work against Fulham, is it, Tom?
No, and it will just be our luck for us to go 1-0 down within the first 10 minutes and then have the bus parked against us. We've just got to go out guns blazing. We've got to look dangerous. We need Ollie needs to find his shooting boots. And, Danny Ings looked very hungry to score against Chelsea. So I'll be pleased to see both of them on the score sheet, mate. But we've got to cut out the errors and we've got to be bold and confident in front of goal. It's really important that we get 3 points from this, and Brentford on the weekend as well. It's just two must-win games.
Yeah, regardless of Steven Gerrard, and a large proportion of the fan base at this point wants Steven Gerrard to leave Aston Villa Football Club, but Villa need wins from somewhere because the games keep coming, but they keep kind of passing us by, don't they? And we're not picking up results, and 2 wins from 10. I think Villa have got the worst home record in 2022 of current Premier League teams as well. I think only Watford and Norwich had lost more home games than Villa, and they're not in the league anymore. So that tells you that there's problems absolutely everywhere. But even the away form, we don't really go to away games and look like we're going to win. We've not picked up really anything away from home this season other than the 2 points that we picked up recently against Leeds and Forest. And, they were poor games to watch. This is the problem. We're not good at home. We're not good away. And we were decent going forward against Chelsea for an hour, but as I've said, those tactics won't work against Fulham. And, probably because of the way we played, we'll probably line up with the same front three. But that was set up for a direct game against Chelsea. Again, I don't really envisage that front three working against Fulham. I still have nightmares of Tim Ream, of that playoff final of the fans shouting Ream every time he intercepted the ball or did a piece of defending. I don't want to be stood there tomorrow night having the exact same thing happen at Craven Cottage.
It can't, Dan, and it started at the start of the season, didn't it? Those games where we do want to push up the top half of the table into the top 10. Those games, like we said at the start of the season against Bournemouth, those games that we have to. We really need to be getting at least something from. You only have to look at the likes of Bournemouth. Scott Parker wrote them off. I think they're the only team since they got beat 9-0. Was it 9-0?
Yeah, they're the only team. They've got the best record, haven't they?
They're the only team unbeaten, since they got battered 9-0, and that's how you come back from those type of things, isn't it? It's all about the energy and the mood in the dressing room, and we can say what we want and see what we want on social media, but the performances aren't consistent, and that's been a huge problem for us the last few seasons. Is every season has been we can write this one off because we just come up and we needed a new squad. Oh, we can write this one off because players needed time to gel. Oh, we can write this one off because Grealish went. At what point do we turn that corner and say, okay, it's time to start moving forward, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, it is feeling like at the moment it's going to be another wasted season unless the club act and do something soon. It feels like we're just waiting for Steven Gerrard to leave at the moment. I've been on loads of things this week, and I've said it's a matter of when at the moment, not if Steven Gerrard goes. And one of Villa's biggest problems has been putting the ball in the back of the net. Fulham have got the kind of striker that I would imagine typically would cause Villa problems, and they have got that striker in Mitrovic that will put the ball in the back of the net. He's had a great record so far in the Premier League this season, Tom.
Yeah, and there's no room for error. There's just not happened to us on Sunday. Silly mistake early on. You get penalised. Mason Mount buries it. It's at this level of football, you just can't afford to have those mistakes. So we've got to learn from them and move forward. Dan. So as you said, players like Mitrovic just don't miss chances like that. So we've got to be solid across the field, not just in defence. I'd hate nothing more than to go into a Thursday evening and watch Villa be a 0-0 snorefest. I really want to see us go and grab this and bounce back from a game where we should have got something on the weekend. So now's a perfect chance for that, mate.
This is a killer question. I don't think even Steven Gerrard's got the answer for this one at the moment. Where can Villa win this game? What can they do to win this game? Most things we've tried to do to win games this season hasn't worked. What can we do to win this game, Tom?
Well, the thing is, I don't think that Villa have much answer. I don't think Villa really have an answer for that either, because we're not seeing any consistency in the 11 either. Everything seems like a change of shape, a change of front three, a change of front two, a change of lone striker and, different wingers. There's been no consistency. So when you're hearing in the media, oh, we were unlucky, etc., stuff like that, but if we were just unlucky, why aren't we sticking with the same 11 again? But how we lined up against Chelsea, we haven't lined up against it this season so far.
Well, we've had different front three every game. We haven't had the same front three in any game so far this season.
And you see Ollie Watkins out wide. It just seems like a matter of desperation of us trying to find something from somewhere and just hoping that it sticks. But at what point and how many games in do you say enough's enough? I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's the thing I've said about Fulham being well coached. They look like a well coached side in Marco Silva. I can see what they set out to do. If you watched Fulham in the first game of the season against Liverpool, they're absolutely brilliant in the way that they pressed and the way they all moved as one. Villa just look like a collection of players that are thrown together every week, don't they? That's another issue that the fans have.
Yeah, and the problem is on paper we look absolutely great. When you look at the squad, been unlucky with a few injuries, but again, I don't think those injuries are enough to excuse the way we've been playing. Or do you know what I mean? It's just not enough. It's not. So if we were at short where two injuries could cause our season to go into colossal, then it's been a bad transfer window, hasn't it, going into the season? So either way, there's somebody to blame for it, but something's got to change. It really has, mate.
Steven Gerrard can look at the Diego Carlos injury and say that's a problem to us, but then actually defensively hasn't massively been a problem in the last month or so. They've tightened up defensively. Concer's, to give him credit, come back into form. Mings has been very good up until he made his mistake on Sunday. Mistakes happen. I don't think it'll be his last mistake, but generally he's been pretty consistent through the season. But even like talking about Kamara, who was, I think, the fan signing that they were really, really pleased with. We thought he'd make a huge difference to this team. He's going to go on and be a sensational footballer, Kamara. But we weren't playing brilliant with him there. So it doesn't feel like a valid excuse to me, Todd.
No, it's not, Dan. And, stopping goals going in is only one part of the equation. The other part of the equation is how we're looking in front of goal. Are we consistently looking good in front of goal? No, we're not. We were very unlucky. But there was chances that we should have scored on the weekend, but we didn't. But we don't look like that every game, and that's a problem. If we were going into games and we lose games, but we gave everything, then I don't feel too disheartened by it. But the thing is, there's no consistency. It's not every game we look good going forward. It's not every game we have those, hands on head stopping moments of, when you nearly score a goal. We haven't had that. You only have to look at how we played against Forest and then how we played against Chelsea. It didn't look like the same. You wouldn't think that it's the same manager and the same players, regardless of a few changes. It's not the same system in any game. So it's just frustrating because every time there's a game coming up, Dan, you don't know what Villa are coming out. You really don't know what 45 minutes football you're going to see. And I have to break it down per half because it's never the same. We don't go into each half with the same 45 minutes. We just don't. There's never the same Villa that come out each half, and that's equally as frustrating.
Yeah, sometimes we're not even a one half too. People say we usually have a good half and a bad half. Sometimes we just have two bad halves. We can't even do that right at times. That's something that gets labelled at us quite a lot. I watched Fulham against Bournemouth on Saturday, and I sat there thinking, both these are better than us, and I just don't feel I should be sat there saying that about two newly promoted teams, who've typically not done great in the Premier League. But I keep coming back to the well coached thing. Both those teams look well coached, and what impressed me about Fulham on Saturday against Bournemouth was they were losing 2-1. Marco Silva subs changed the game and swung the momentum and swung the pendulum back in Fulham's favour. We made changes on Sunday against Chelsea. It made us worse.
And they're just too late, Dan.
When do we make a sub that actually impacts the game?
We don't.
I can't think of one.
We don't, and you can see that's the difference with Graham Potter. Cucurella was getting,
murdered,
he was in Leon Bailey's pocket, so we took him off. Koulibaly come on, it changed how the entire back line. It's the exact same thing, do you know what I mean? So it's one of those things where that's the difference between a manager who sees a problem on the pitch and a manager who doesn't. But was there any reason to change anybody in the first half against Chelsea? No, probably not. But the same 11 didn't come out the second half that went into the first half. So again, that's where you've got to make a change, and something's got to stick.
Yeah, I've said people saying, and I've said it myself, to be fair, we played well against Chelsea, but the facts are we didn't play well in the second half, because as soon as we went 2-0 down, the game's over. If Villa, I can't remember the last time this happened, if Villa are 2-0 up in a game, I sit there thinking, we're not safe here. We need to score another 10 to be safe here. If a team's 2-0 up against us, or even 1-0 up against us at times, I sit there and think, they ain't going to score. We're not going to get back into this. I know the Forest game, we went 1-0 down and we got a really quick reply from an Ashley Young worldie. But all these things we're talking about, there's just so much wrong at the moment. And me and you are relatively positive. I mean, you're a very positive Villa fan. I'd say I'm relatively positive as well. But we're struggling to come up with positives, or come up for reasons why we think Villa might win a football match. And after a year of Gerrard, I don't think that's where we should be.
It's not at all, and there's no excuse for it. As you go back to the Forest game, Dan, I mean, I don't, no disrespect to Ashley Young, but Ashley Young realistically isn't one of our starting 11. Long term in a fully fit squad, he doesn't get into that 11. Since he came on as a sub against Man City, he's been our standout performer. We had to rely on
distance as well.
Quite distance. We had to rely on a 37-year-old Ashley Young, and I'm not saying that his age is anything to do with it, but we have to rely on a seasoned veteran to get us out of the mud and to score an absolute rocket to get us out of the mud. And we shouldn't be in that situation. If we are in that situation, why aren't the players using that energy and seeing the work rate and the performance he puts in and putting that into their game as well? That's what I've got a problem with, Dan. And as you said, mate, we're both fairly positive people when it comes to, trying to find a positive in every negative. But I'm out of options, Dan, I'll be honest.
Yeah, the manager and the players obviously do the post matches and the pre matches and all that. I think it's not just Gerrard at the moment. Yeah, the players are the ones on the pitch. It wasn't Gerrard that was missing the chances on Sunday, for example. But at the moment, they've got to back up what they're saying. You've got to see some form of change. We had the Man City game. That was evident change in the Man City game from the game before. We need that. We need that again now. We need to see a Villa front foot performance. Scoring goal, putting the ball in the back of the net and trying to win the game and play some semblance of attractive football and look like they've been coached and they've been together in the week. There's only so much talking now you can do. Gerrard can talk about shielding the players and he'll shoulder all the responsibility and things like that. But fundamentally, nothing is changing. And whatever you think of Steven Gerrard, Villa need to pick at least, and I'm being kind, 4 points from these next 2 games. Anything less than that, we're going to be in huge trouble. I mean, we've got the poll running. Will Villa get 3 points tomorrow against Fulham? And comfortably, from what I can see here, the fact that Villa are going to lose seems to be what the fans are voting for. So Villa fans are miserable. Villa fans are unhappy at the moment. You can't blame anyone. I'd love to come on here and be positive, but if I was coming on here and being positive, people would just lose any faith in anything I ever say and anything I go on. It's the same for you. There's nothing we can say. They'd lose respect for us. You can't be positive about Aston Villa at the moment. It just feels I said before, it feels like we're waiting for something, but I don't know what that is. At the moment, I feel like I do know what we're waiting for. It's just a case of when's it going to happen. And I don't like saying that. I don't like people losing the jobs and things like that. But at the moment, Villa are trending in one direction, Tom.
I couldn't agree more with you, mate. But there's a fine line between, being optimistic and being a realist at the same time. We always do try and find those positives, Dan. But regardless of us sticking a camera in our face and talking about football, we are just Villa fans at the end of the day, just two normal blokes who support Villa. So we feel exactly the same things as everybody else feels, even if we do try and find a positive in those negative situations. But it's very easy for us to say, let's get rid of Gerrard and let's get, Pochettino in, which seems to be the general consensus around Twitter of that's what we should do. But then what if he doesn't want to come, if he doesn't believe in the project, and then what? Where does it go from there? It's it's the unknown, isn't it? I mean, we've been through a lot as football fans. I mean, granted, we didn't go through administration. We were very lucky. We got two owners who saved us from that. But there comes a point where I just want us to enjoy the football that we're watching. Prices of things are going up. Times are hard for people. The least we should be able to do is just go to the football and enjoy it and just see our club perform how we know they can perform. I don't want those moments of magic, just some consistent magic, just a consistent season where we push for Europe. We've got our 11 that we choose week in, week out. We're not changing shape. We're not changing system. We're not changing tactics. We know.
In fairness, we don't change shape too often.
At times, at 75 minutes, we do like to change a shape.
Oh, yeah, we'll throw them all on at 75.
Yeah, you get where I'm coming from with it, though, Dan. What I'm trying to say is there's just no consistency. And if I said to you, Dan, name the 11 that's coming out tomorrow, you wouldn't be able to. And there was a period of time where we would be able to get close. 9, 10 out of 11. But I don't feel like you can do that at the minute. I really don't. So something just needs to change, mate, for all of us. Twitter isn't a great place for any of us to be at the minute.
Do you know what, though? I actually think Twitter's all right.
Ugh.
But you know why? I think everyone's on the same page. I think everyone's on the same page.
Muted. Yeah, everyone is on the same page.
It feels like usually there'd be more people sticking up for the manager and stuff like that, but it doesn't feel like that at the moment. It feels like everyone's united in what they think is going to happen. And
I don't mean there's people arguing. I don't mean that. I'm not saying that people are arguing or what. But there is the same feel around Twitter, but it's a negative feel, isn't it?
Yeah,
and I don't
horrible.
like. It's not good for anybody to want to post those things on Twitter of those feelings of feeling down and negative and just not looking forward to watching Villa. I love on match day to wake up and the first thing I do is write good morning Villains. It's match day. It's something I've religiously done for years. And I don't even feel like I want to do that at the minute.
Well, you've got to, Tom. You can't not do that.
I'll still do it, but then I won't look on Twitter to see what people have replied.
You've got to do it. And one thing I had to do was pick my betmate team for the Villa and Fulham game. So what we did is we linked up with the Fulhamish podcast and we went through how we think the Fulham and Villa game will go player-wise, and we picked our betmate team. So here's the video. Our betmate team. So because you're at home, I'm going to let you go first. Who are you going to plump for in goal?
Okay, I'm going to be loyal and I'm going to go with Bernd Leno in goals. Fantastic already this season, and I'm backing him to maybe get a clean sheet tomorrow.
Yeah, Villa are quite porous at the moment in front of goal, so I'm going to do exactly the same thing. I'm going to put Leno in goal as well. Good signing for Fulham. Was a little bit unfortunate to be phased out at Arsenal, but he's been great for Fulham so far this season. That was a real astute signing. What about your first pick in defence?
I'm going to go with a Villa player in Ezri Konsa. Been really impressed with Konsa since he's joined Aston Villa. I think he's a really good centre-back. And when he was at Brentford before, when he was linked away, I really wanted to sign him, but we didn't. He went to Villa. And he's been fantastic, and I'm looking forward to watching him tomorrow.
Yeah, he's picked up his form recently. He did go through a little bit of a sticky patch, but he's been back on form over the last 3 or 4 weeks, and Villa have kept a couple of clean sheets as well, and he's been a big part of that. I'm going to give a Fulham defender a chance. I still have nightmares about the Fulham fans shouting Ream all the way through the playoff final that you beat us in. I'm going to put Tim Ream in as my first centre-back. He didn't get much of a chance in the Premier League last time, if I remember correctly, but this time round, he seems to be the number one pick, and he's had a good start to the season. Who are you going for next?
I'm going to go with the goal scorer from Saturday, Issa Diop. Great partnership with Tim Ream, and I expect him to play a part tomorrow. So I'd like to have him at the back because he was very solid for us on Saturday against Bournemouth.
Okay. I am finally going to pick an Aston Villa player, probably Villa's best player over the last month or so. Scored against Forest the other week as well. Ashley Young had a bit of a renaissance in recent weeks. Really good professional Villa hero as well from what he did 10 or so years ago. So yeah, as I say, he's been Villa's best player in recent weeks. So I'm going to put him in. Central midfield for you, Jack?
I'm going to go with the man who just signed a new contract at Aston Villa. That is Douglas Luiz. Great player. Obviously, really pleased on behalf of Villa fans that he signed a contract and didn't go to Arsenal on deadline day. He is a wonderful midfielder and someone who I think is going to be a danger for us tomorrow to look out for.
Yeah, pretty much one of the only chances Villa have got from scoring is Douglas Luiz, direct from a corner at the moment as well. That seems to be one of the few avenues that Villa go down to score a goal at the moment. Saying that, I'm going to pick Jacob Ramsey just because he is Villa's biggest goal threat from central midfield. Scored 6 goals, I think, last season. He's one of Villa's danger men, so I'm going to go for Jacob Ramsey. Off chance he might play further forward, but I imagine he'll be in the number 8 position. Next one for you, Jack.
I can't ignore this. João Palhinha, my vice captain for tomorrow. Absolutely brilliant midfielder. Best signing we've made in a while. One of the best Fulham players I've seen at Fulham for years. And he is, I can't not have him in my team. He's unbelievable.
But might get a yellow card though, mightn't he? He likes a yellow card so far this season, Palhinha, but I'm going for him as well. He scored that wonderful goal from range. I can't remember who he was against, but I remember him scoring a goal from range. And I've got to be honest, I think he's one of the best players in the Premier League so far this season and one of the best summer signings any team's made. So I'm going to go for Palhinha in midfield myself. Your striker, I can imagine who that's going to be with the captaincy next
obviously,
to him.
Alexander Mitrovic goes in there. How many goals now? 6 or 7 goals already this season. Defying all the odds from the wider media. We knew of his talents and he's proving it in the Premier League. Thank God.
Yeah, I'm going for him as well. Absolutely no chance. I'm leaving Mitrovic out my side. And then just to mix it up, I'm going to throw in my striker next. I'm going to have to put Ollie Watkins in. Overdue a goal, only scored 1 goal this season. I say that as if Villa's 7 top goal scorers have all got 1 goal at the moment. So that tells you some of the problems we've had at Villa Park. But I'm going to go to Watkins because he's going to have to score at some point for us. You?
Yeah, had the exact same. Ollie Watkins, really good striker. Of course, played against us in the playoff final against Brentford. Didn't quite get the goal that he would have wanted, obviously, and Brentford would have wanted. But he had his chances, to be fair, and Rodak made a couple of saves from him. But for Aston Villa, he's a really good striker, Premier League quality, and he'll be a danger tomorrow, definitely.
Yeah, we'll do our subs offline because the subs aren't massively important. But Jack, quick score prediction before you go.
I'm going to go with a 2-2 draw. We drew 2 at the weekend. I can see it happening again. I thought Villa were really unlucky the other day against Chelsea. Kepa made some outstanding saves. And, a lot of Villa fans have said that they want to lose this game for Gerrard to be sacked. I don't think that's the mentality to have.
I completely agree with you.
Exactly. I think Gerrard will obviously want to keep his job and come to the cottage and upset us. But I could see it being a draw. It's going to be a good game.
Yeah, I'm going to go for... I can't see Villa winning. I want Villa to win, but I can't see Villa winning, to be perfectly honest. I'm going to go for Fulham 1, Aston Villa 0, Mitrovic to score off a set piece.
Take it.
Right, I didn't want to stop because I didn't know what bit you were recording, but we're back. Will audio work? The picture's working, which is always a good start. So I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Jack. Score prediction for tomorrow's game.
I'm going to go 2-1 Villa.
Oh, here he is. You're not playing FIFA, mate. This is a football match.
Then it'd be 7-1 Villa if it was FIFA. You know how the smoke's applied on FIFA. Dan. I'm going to go 2-1 Villa.
2-1 to Villa. I mean, I said about looking for positives earlier. There's no chance Villa win tomorrow because, as I've said previously, Dolan and myself have been to about 15 away games together, and the best result we've ever seen was Reading 0, Aston Villa 0, and we're going together tomorrow. So basically, if things weren't messed up anyway, that's just completely finalised it. That's where my 1-0 Fulham prediction has come from. Ty, thanks ever so much for joining me. Always a pleasure to see you. You've kept yourself busy recently, so I've not seen much of you, but we will not go into that. Thank you very much for joining me today. For those of you that are going to Craven Cottage tomorrow, hopefully I will see some of you there and have a chat. Thanks for supporting the channel. Thanks to Adam for getting half of the show to work. And as ever, up the Villa.
Up the Villa.